Chapter 3. Judy Hunnsicker and Bob Henderson in Laughlin, Nevada. Judy Hunnsicker sat nervously in the VIP lounge of the Games Network Casino. John Joseph was the principal owner of the hotel and resort and casino megaplex, and he was not one to waste advertising space on surnames or mystique. The Games Network was the hottest cable web satellite network that had spun off from the highly successful Contest Network 2 years ago. At about that time, the Contest Network Hotel and Casino morphed into the Games Network Resort and Executive Club. Focus groups determined that Country Club had a middle-class stigma attached to it, and a 15-year expansion plan was launched. Judy got a glimpse of two well-dressed women and an unusually handsome man in a Donatello suit before she was escorted to a private video booth. She had been asked which floor she was visiting and what she wanted to drink. She replied third floor to the first question and club soda to the second. The booth did not provide perfect anonymity, but it did provide a degree of protection from gawkers and busybodies. It was like any other restaurant booth with partitions that rose to the ceiling and whose glass tabletop served as a video interface and internet and phone screen. The club soda was delivered by a silly-looking robot that seemed to be a cross between Elvis Presley and R2-D2. Judy thanked the bot and was rewarded with a gesture resembling a sneer on his domed face. Judy punched a phone icon and a small greenish keyboard lit up the screen. She dialed Bob's room number and grabbed an attached headset that was hanging on the side partition. The VIP lounge was one of the Game Network Resort's boldest innovations. To prevent recording video that might someday be used against a cherished hotel guest in a court of law, the management turned off the security cameras for 5 minutes every hour on each guest floor. The cameras on floor 2 and 3 were shut off from 2 p.m. until 12:05 p.m. Floors 4 and 5 were shut off from 12:05 p.m. until 12:10 p.m., all the way up for 16 floors. The executive floors, 18 and 19, were each given a 10-minute window. The procedure was repeated 24 hours a day. The staff referred to the VIP lounge as hooker heaven. There were no cameras in the VIP parking lot, the VIP lounge, or the 2 VIP elevators. Every few minutes, the public address would call out a couple of floor numbers. 2 elevators would open and perfumed people, mostly women, would saunter out of the car wearing oversized sunglasses and delicately clutching small, stylish handbags. Each car would then fill up with a half dozen or so souped-up hotties who would then accompany their burly guard and operator to their destination floor. "I'm in the VIP lounge, Bob. How does that make you feel?" "Like a call girl." Bob chuckled and said something, but Judy cut him off. "They're calling my floor." Judy rushed the elevator so that the other passengers would have their backs to her. She said hi to the stout security guard, and he smiled back and quietly said hi. Each trip was planned to the second. 2.5 minutes to load and unload the ascending. 2.5 minutes to load and unload the descending. There was a third elevator that was sometimes used when traffic got heavier or when one of the other lifts was being serviced. The ladies seemed to be playing a game to wait as long as possible before boarding. The door closing was being announced like a NASA launch over the PA system. 10, 9, 8. At 5, the doors would start to shut. The liftoff would be delayed by a petite redhead who stuck her arm in the automatic doors and caused them to reopen. After a series of moans and grumbles, the smiling co-ed boarded the elevator, and 10 seconds later, they had liftoff. Always a people watcher, Judy took careful notes of her fellow passengers. There was a tall Nordic blonde in a demure tan pantsuit who stood gracefully at the front right corner of the car. She was at least 6'1", and she seemed to have the goods to be the next supermodel. Why was she working the games? Could pay possibly be that good? And Judy noticed the slightly shorter, slightly rounder olive-skinned brunette in her floral print dress that emphasized pink and orange. She stood in the left corner of the car. The petite redhead stood between them in black leather pants and a green sequin top. Judy stood in the left rear corner, and the guard stood in the right rear corner where the control box had been transplanted. And what would have been the center square of a tic-tac-toe board stood an average-height Kenyan woman in an orangish trim dress that accentuated what Judy thought might be the perfect figure. At 32, Judy was the oldest person in the elevator. She felt matronly and a bit frumpy. Her knee-length shorts and white and blue summer blouse were not supposed to appear wifeish, but she now looked domestic in a junior league picnic kind of way. The elevator cars were lined in mirrors, and Judy glanced at her image on her left. She had always felt confident with her Nordish Irish looks. She was usually the prettiest girl in the room. Today, she did not feel that way. The elevator stopped and the doors opened much faster than they had closed. The women filed out one at a time, instinctively giving the lady in front enough space to be seen as a solitary figure. Judy had seen this "don't step on the other girl's shadow" before, and it always amazed her how women instinctively knew this unwritten protocol. Judy exited last, and she was careful not to step too close to the Kenyan girl. As she approached Bob's room, she was passed by two blondes and a brunette who strode past her in single file formation en route to the elevator. None of them made eye contact or said hi. They just smiled their confident smiles and strutted their confident struts. Judy saw Bob open his door and stand in the doorway. She saw two other middle-aged men down the hall do the same thing, and it reminded Judy of kids climbing off a school bus and meeting their waiting fathers. Bob whisked Judy into his room, and she suddenly grew nervous. She liked Bob. She was intrigued with his stature and experience and charmed by his wit, his manners, and even his frugality. But she came here to view erotic material, and she had a good idea where that might lead. She had never been with a married man before, and she never wanted to commit that sin. But here she was. The twosome made small talk, and Bob suggested dinner from room service. Judy had skipped her usual protein mixed breakfast, and now at 12:15 p.m. her stomach was telling her it was time for lunch. She had previously stated to Bob that she would probably go through life without ordering from room service. For one thing, she did not like to eat in places where other people fornicated. For another, she did not want to pay $27 for a cheeseburger. Bob agreed that bedrooms were unappetizing, but he reminded Judy of the difficulties of them dining elsewhere. "We ate at Grilly's," Judy reminded him. "But Grilly's didn't have 6,000 cameras," Bob retorted. "Are you treating?" Judy inquired. Bob affirmed that he was, and he produced a menu. "Holy cow, I can't cook this cheap at home," Judy exclaimed. "It's part of the Joseph philosophy. Never grind the guest. And what's better, there's no tipping." Judy ordered a double cheeseburger platter, and Bob ordered 2 grilled cheese sandwiches and mushroom soup. Bob continued to praise the Joseph business philosophy when Judy cut him off. I know we're in a Joseph hotel room, but I am not a fan of the Joseph family. They are our enemies, Bob. The old man is a radical, but the kids are different. Yeah, they hired a PR firm. That's all that's different about them. John Joseph has contributed a lot of money to the families of fallen officers. PR, that's all that it is. And he hires a lot of security details and pays them extremely well, more than they make as police officers. Bribery, that's all that is. John Joseph has done a lot of good for society. He produces wrongly accused. Why does he focus on the 1% we get wrong? He says it's like telling a doctor not to look at your tumor because the rest of your body is healthy. Yeah. He's created jobs. He wants to legalize drugs. Think of how many doctors and pharmacists will lose their jobs if they adopt those policies. Well, that's true. And prison guards and POs and drug counselors, what are those people supposed to do? Work at McDonald's? Bob Henderson had never seen Judy so emotional, and he tried to change the subject. You know, Judy, I won this little vacay in a contest. The Games Network will continue to give away cash prizes, but they won't be giving away hotel rooms. This place will only cater to whales. All the rooms will be free so long as you purchase $10,000 in chips every day. Bob was interrupted by room service. They settled into their lunch on the round table. Kind of crappy view, Bob, Judy remarked. The window offered a panoramic view of a brick wall 40 feet away. Contest winners get the lowest floors. Nothing but Arabs and Japanese on the top floors. Tell me again how you won this contest. Bob did not tell Judy that Stella, his secretary, spent most of her time bypassing IT security and entering the two of them in an online contest. He wanted to continue to make Judy think he was a big shot, but the fact was he had no official assignments, and it was a secret he and Stella did not blab to anyone. In addition to the 100 or so contests Stella entered him every day, Bob entered dozens more via contest subscription service. I got second place in an online baseball proposition contest. He did not tell her that the contest was sponsored by the Joseph-owned Freedom News in conjunction with Games Network. I bet I wouldn't understand it, Judy said sincerely. It's simple enough. Every day, 5 to 15 baseball games are played. You select a proposition such as Yankees record 3 double plays or the Tigers hit 5 home runs. There are literally tens of thousands of propositions arranged in a hierarchy of probability. And a proposition is awarded to each contestant on a first come, first served basis. And no two props have the same value, so there's never a tie. Huh? Well, I predicted back-to-back triples on any team at 921. I got second place because the winner had back-to-back triple Cubs at 31,010. If I had gotten first place, I would have won $5,000. Instead, you win a trip to enemy camp. That's one way of looking at it. But I'm not going to gamble, so John Joseph will lose money on me. Judy rolled her eyes. They had not yet completed their lunches when Bob Henderson gazed at the wall clock. Hey, Bob shouted. They're going to be turning off the camera in 7 minutes. Why don't you use the bathroom so you can exit while the cameras are off? Judy raced to the bathroom. She washed her hands, and Bob switched on the wall screen and tuned in to the in-house hotel channel. Floor 2, cameras off in T-minus 30 seconds. At precisely 1 p.m. hotel time, the security cameras shut down. Judy was first on the elevator, and she was joined by a delicate Thai woman wearing a simple peasant dress and a woman who appeared to be about 40 wearing an old-fashioned starched nurse's uniform with starched white nurse's cap. Both women smelled of cleanliness. Bob and Judy were soon in contact by cell phone. Bob moseyed through the hotel lobby, through the informal Game Time Casino, past the dress-up Champions Casino, and into the Tony shopping mall that featured golf accessories and jewelry and super cool clothing. There was a supercell phone store, a law office that specialized in taxes and immigration, 2 massage therapists, 2 nail salons, a food court, an optometry clinic that mostly sold sunglasses, a realtor, a dental clinic, a walk-in medical clinic, 5 stores that called themselves boutiques, and a store at each end of the full boulevard that might be called convenience stores. Bob narrated the excursion for Judy, who walked about 200 feet behind him. Bob pointed out that one of the salesmen at the Game Time golf shop had been a promising star who succumbed to the bottle. He made note of the proprietor's photos posted at the entrance of each shop. The transgender nail tech who resembled Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman, the dentist with unusually thick glasses, the optometrist with unusually large teeth, the realtor who resembled a sumo wrestler, and the candy store clerk whose real name was Candy. Judy would chuckle at Bob's observations as she monitored him from a safe distance. When he walked into a shop, Judy would walk into a shop directly across the full boulevard, staying in constant contact the whole time. The mall concluded not far from the tramcar portal. Bob boarded a car as Judy sipped a latte at the food court. As the car ascended above the games network complex, Bob's tutelage quickened. Bob's cell allowed him to provide a voiceover as the same device captured streaming visuals that transmitted back to Judy and her coffee. He would zoom in on the construction crews erecting the roof on the Tokyo Dome replication. The Tokyo Dome was the 4th baseball stadium to be erected in Laughlin by John Joseph and the Games Network Resort and Executive Club. Duplicates of Veterans Stadium, Shea Stadium, and Tiger Stadium had already been completed, and they currently hosted soccer matches. Judy patiently listened as Bob explained how John Joseph had previously constructed replicas of 4 baseball stadia at a remote Arizona Indian reservation and surprised even himself with his success. Replicas of Ebbets Field in Brooklyn, the Polo Grounds in Manhattan, Busch Stadium in St. Louis, and Candlestick Park in San Francisco fulfill the maxim, if you build it, they will come. The Canadian national team, Winter League, spring training games, college baseball games, and college soccer matches filled the shrines. Eventually, Major League Baseball would add an entire A-class league that would play games in front of busloads of tourists. Okay. Bob would zoom off onto the horizon where golfers adorned in super cool clothing hacked away on 6 3-par golf courses. The courses featured fairway artificial turf and greenway putting greens, both products manufactured by a company in Korea in which John Joseph held a controlling interest. The courses also featured self-driven and robotic golf carts that offered caddy advice in Japanese, English, and Arabic. The carts were manufactured by a company in Japan in which John Joseph held a minority interest. And Judy's interest would blossom, and she asked pertinent questions about the Hole-in-One TV show and soon-to-be disbanded 3-on-3 basketball league, the house lotteries that originated in Laughlin but now spread throughout Nevada, the nascent putting contest TV/web show, the market-tested 3-point contest TV web show, the World War III contest TV web show, the vital knowledge tournaments, and other things related to the infamous Joseph family. Judy loaded herself onto the next tram car, and she would enjoy the serenity and the panoramic view and air-conditioned comfort. She would take a break from Bob and enjoy the ride over the chit of Japanese tourists who held themselves above their heads to capture the grandeur on video. She would catch up with Bob at Veterans Stadium as they watched the soccer match from opposite sides of the field and once again chatted on the phone. The East Shamira Women's Soccer League was one of John Joseph's proudest inventions. The league consisted of 7 conferences of 64 teams, 6 from North America, 1 from Asia. The teams competed in a grueling 8 to 9 week seasons, and there were 4 seasons per year. Each week, the 64 teams would play a single elimination tournament, 1 match per day. Each team consisted of 23 players and 3 managers. The A team would play one day and the B team the next. Should they win all 6 games of their tournament, they would then travel to Laughlin to take on the league champion a few days later. Every match featured a tournament intensity, and every Laughlin match was a championship. The smaller ingenuity was John Joseph's method of financing the league. The greater ingenuity was his political acumen that allowed him to soar over legal hurdles that would have befallen a consumer of inferior legal services. Each team kicked in a little more than $1 million per weekly tournament. The weekly champion pocketed $15 million, and the also-rans raked in roughly $19 million between them. The other $30 million was shipped to Laughlin as challenge money that would be claimed by the ultimate victor. In addition to the $30 million victory, the champions would defend their crown the following day until they lost or until the season ended. The players and managers only received 4% of a team's winnings, divided into equal parts that came to about $20,000 for winning a weekly tournament and $40,000 for winning a championship game at Laughlin. 1% went directly to women's charities, and 2 to 4% covered fixed cost. Team owners recovered 91 to 93% of their prize money, not including sponsorship revenues. John Joseph originally sponsored most of the teams, all the while garnering publicity for his many corporate affiliations. But not even the Joseph family would be able to kick in over $4 billion 4 times a year, all the while shedding 7% of their investment. So he started selling shares of each team on the internet. An $8 million share, an $8 million season dues would be sold in lots of 10 for equity totaling about $8.2 million. Each of the lots of 10 would be further sold until in lots of 10, and this would be repeated until a $9 gift card would offer the recipient a chance to win $30 every time their team won a championship match at Laughlin. Of course, some people would view this practice of violations of gambling laws, and still others would perceive security and exchange grievances. But the finesse of Finley, Finkelman, Fontana, and Jones would guide the East Shamira Automobile Corporation and their beneficiary, East Shamira Women's Soccer League, through a series of whirlpools. No attorney general wanted to block the creation of the largest women's professional sporting league and denied charities that fought breast cancer and prevented domestic violence from receiving millions of dollars every year. The league was thriving and the audience was growing. Today, the challengers, Cohen's Organic Foods of Scranton, Pennsylvania, held a 1-0 lead over the champions, the Aruba Travel Board. The ladies from the travel board had used their A-team to steal the crown from a weary 3-time champion, Santiago Rum. Now it was up to the travel board's B-team to defend their diadem, and so far they seemed overmatched. Bob had offered Judy her choice of champion or challenger, and she reflectively chose the former. Now that choice appeared to be a mistake. The Scranton A-team seemed slightly sharper, and Aruba woefully lacked firepower. Judy's consolation was that her room service was priced in a friendly manner, and Bob would probably order grilled cheese. Despite the smoldering sun that now produced 105-degree temperatures, Judy enjoyed herself. She was never given to crowds or spectacles or events, and today she discovered a new facet of herself who appreciated these things. She drank Gatorade and more Gatorade, and she relished the match. She studied the teams, the players, the owners, the fans. Each team had about 10,000 owners and fans seated in their cheering section. Technically, each team had hundreds of thousands of owners if one counted the patrons who received $9 gift cards as stocking stuffers. But each team was given only 4,000 seats to each game, and they were usually distributed in lots of 4 to the owners who had purchased at least 0.1% of team stock. Both teams had purchased championship versions of the uniforms crafted from super cool clothiers at their Carson City plant and shipped to Laughlin 48 hours after each team won their conference tournament. Judy studied the people seated in each owner's section dressed in super cool team owner attire that had been purchased at a good luck gesture at the start of the season. Now, with their teams fighting for the pinnacle, the owners proudly display their logos on long windbreakers, balloon pants, thermal socks, and wide-brim thermal hats that kept them as comfortable as they would be in their air-conditioned homes. Judy had arrived at the Game Network's resort with a suitcase of clothes, but Bob unexpectedly asked her to leave the suitcase in the trunk of her rental car, which was parked in the VIP lot. He was afraid that hotel management might charge him if a second person spent the night in the room. It wasn't that he didn't mind paying the extra fee, but he did not want the extra guest to be recorded in hotel records. Judy asserted that that would be silly of the management to go to such lengths to create and maintain a VIP lounge if they took note of whether or not the patrons had guests in their rooms. Bob agreed that made sense, but he was still suspicious of hotel management and insisted he could purchase pajamas and panties for Judy from one of the mall stores. Judy was not comfortable with a father figure purchasing sleepwear and intimates for her, and she had planned to continue the subject with Bob before the sunset. But she studied the owners and saw how they jumped and frolicked in the skin-peeling sun and decided on another course of action. At halftime, with their team trailing 2-0, Judy wandered off to the super cool outlet located where a gift shop filled the original Veterans Stadium. Judy recalled the super cool ad that showed the window fan in the shack, the window air conditioner in the bungalow, and the central air unit in the mansion. The voiceover provided a suave delivery. Good, better, best. Then the camera showed a pasty middle-aged couple in short pants. The man had hairy arms and shoulders and wore a wife-beater t-shirt. The wife wore a bathing suit top that emphasized her flabby belly. They smeared milky sunscreen on their limbs and faces. This was followed by a younger, handsomer couple in bulky first-generation thermal clothing. They were followed by the handsomest man and the most protrudineous woman on planet Earth, decked out in sleek, super cool duds, smiling blissful smiles as they trekked across the desert. Good, better, best. Judy splurged on a fake tweed pantsuit, a windbreaker, thermal leather boots, 2 bras, 2 pair of panties, and a thermal fake leopard skin pillbox hat. The store matron was the best salesperson she had ever met. Judy had never experienced such a high degree of service before. She was able to shower in a stall that smelled clean. Not antiseptically clean, new, fresh, touch of lemon and rose petal clean. Judy climbed into her new clothes as her sweaty garb was laundered and dried and later sent to Bob's room. Only now did she feel prepared to spend the night with Bob. The champions would lose 2-1. Bob would return to his room and Judy would return to the VIP lounge. At 7:04 p.m. Pacific time, the couple would reunite in Bob's room to eat dinner and consummate their love. With Judy picking up the tab, Bob ordered a porterhouse steak with baked potato and garden salad. Judy ordered linguine with creamy clam sauce, the house salad, a half case of Gatorade, and a chocolate cheesecake that she promised to split with her host. Knowing what could follow after dinner, Judy grew fidgety. Bob, too, seemed a bit on edge. He talked incessantly about work-related matters. I'm not supposed to tell you this, and remember, this is between us. If I were you, I would keep my suitcase packed. We are going to ship every able-bodied agent to Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, or Tennessee. A dozen other agencies are assisting us, plus state and local police. The National Guard will provide material assistance in 5 states. For what? The biggest roundup in law enforcement history. We are taking down everyone connected to the Houston biochemical attacks and the Memphis attacks. Is it the Mexicans? Damn straight. The Mexican drug lords are developing biological and chemical weapons. They are still making mistakes, but they are getting better. We have to stop them. So all of those Houston attacks? Mexicans, every one of them. Even the mail attack. Yep. And the Waller County attack? Same people, different method. And the plane attack in Memphis. The plane attack and the amateur chlorine gas were supervised by Mexican drug lords. We have informants who are singing like Pavarotti. What about the Memphis mystery attack? I don't know if we have the specifics on that one just yet. A lot of people got sick all at once from infectious disease. I'm sure we'll learn more about that one after the roundup. Yeah. All those dozens of sick people, and the only death is a high-priced defense attorney. There is a God. Were you in doubt about that particular matter? Judy just shrugged. Dinner exceeded all expectations, and Judy put the cheesecake in the fridge for later. Judy gathered up the plates and silver and serving dishes and placed them outside Bob's room. She felt a bit like a lady of the night when she told Bob to get comfortable, and she retreated to the bathroom to prepare for the feature. In the bathroom, Judy removed her new fake tweed pantsuit and posed with her thermal bra and thermal panties in front of a full-length mirror. She liked her peach-colored lingerie, but she didn't know if Bob would like them. Her other pair was pinkish. Maybe she should have chosen black. With a shrug, Judy returned to her business. She folded her pantsuit, she brushed her teeth, and combed her hair. She applied a hint of perfume to her neck. She peed and washed her hands afterwards. Bob was sitting on the bed in his pajama bottoms, watching the news. His shirt was off, and Judy thought his torso looked unusual. His chest was surprisingly hairy, and he was oh so skinny. She once more marveled at his bygone-era physique. A scarecrow in the age of fat men and barbell boys. The room held 2 queen-size beds. Regardless of what might transpire beforehand, by mutual agreement they would ultimately sleep in separate beds. Judy placed her folded pantsuit on her bed and then plugged a flash drive into a USB port on the flat screen. Without asking Bob's permission, she blackened the screen. Judy crawled next to Bob, and they kissed ever so gently. They smooched and stroked and fondled one another for perhaps 10 minutes. Then Judy jumped up and grabbed the remote. "I think you'll like my editing, dear." Judy pressed the start button and turned her attention to her lover. She slowly removed her pajama bottoms, and then she slowly removed his boxers. His best friend was standing at attention, and Judy remarked that it looked something like him, tall and thin. The video rolled. A 40-ish woman who had founded a group called Mothers Against Fascism after her son got sent away more or less forever on federal drug charges talked to the camera. Judy stroked Bob's lucky charms as the woman talked about her shock, her pain, her helplessness. She choked back the tears as she narrated her loss of faith. She felt betrayed by her country, her God, and especially her son's lawyer who had drained her of her house, her savings, and had maxed out her credit cards. Judy thought Bob would climax, but his breathing slowed and then his hips started moving again. The second segment of the vid was a montage edited from a video put out by a group called PAIDAP, or Police Against Drugs and Prohibition. Truth is, they were all ex-cops now living safely in Pensionland, who had only seen the light after their retirement. Judy had edited out most of the Judas chatter, but here and there were voiceovers that almost killed the mood. There were still shots of a suburban white kid who supposedly had dreams of someday fighting cancer. Stills of a suburban black kid who would someday do something equally wonderful if the G-men had not interfered with his life. Stills and a home video of a suburban Asian kid who had dreamed of designing speed-of-light computers. Judy could tell that Bob was excited, but he did not want to show his excitement at images of boys. At last, Judy's favorite, a 19-year-old blonde girl from Louisiana, was being sentenced to a long stretch in federal court. Her eyes were moist, but she maintained her composure. Her face was shot from 3 angles, microdot cameras that had been placed to the front and left, the front and right, and one from the judge's desk. Judy knew for a fact that the federal judge passing sentence, a Veritas member, had placed the cameras himself. When she got to the part where the girl realized she would never have a family, Judy unhanded Bob and placed her left hand over her pleasure button. With her right hand, she squeezed her left nipple. The vid looped all 3 angles of the girl stating earnestly, "Every woman should have a baby. Every woman needs a baby." Judy's body froze for a few seconds, and then her neck spasmed and her head rocked against the feather pillow. She rested for a moment with eyes closed. She opened her eyes just moments before Bob sprayed her face with his passion. Judy was in love.